Hey guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Uno episode 108. This is a show where we review all the comics I read this week in one show. So let's get started. There's a normal amount of comics this week. I got 16 books, so we're going worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. So what was my worst pick of the week? Number 16 was Civil War issue 2. Yes, this was the worst pick this week. It wasn't a horrible book. I will say there's no horrible books out this week. Civil War, just for me, I thought it wasn't as good as issue 1, especially since I don't think they focused on characters I particularly cared about as much in this universe, because like there are characters I care about here, but just not in this world. But the ones I liked was Cassie and Peter, and Cassie wasn't even in the issue, and Peter was more of a sideline character, just reminding him, hey, you have your family, this is the reason you're fighting. But you don't really get to see his family, which is disappointing for me, because I want to see more of that. This is very much a strategy issue. It's about them getting a strategy to find out who the hell killed this woman and what they have to do in this war. So, I think that's why it was a bit slow for me. Also, the art's kind of hard to get used to. It's okay. It's a bit on the darker side. And even though it's detailed, there's times where it's not detailed, like some of the facial expressions. And maybe some of the background, like over here, is actually a good example. So yeah, I wasn't a particular fan of the coloring, even though I feel like it does fit the story for the most part. Also, some of the character designs are a little weird. Like Tony looks a little off. Even Jen, her new style. Let me show you. I thought it was a little off also. I understand she's undercover and that's why they have to do that, but I didn't think it really fit Jen. So that's some art stuff I didn't really love, but yeah, it was just an okay issue. I'm still going to pick up the rest of it to see where it goes, but I wasn't totally impressed with this one. So Civil War issue 2 gets 2.5 stars, and that's number 16. Now, number 15 is actually a surprise this is so low, but I just didn't connect to it as much, and that was Robin Hood Ongoing issue 13. This is with Van Helsing is guesting here. I've not read any Van Helsing stuff in Zenescope, so I guess that's another reason why I didn't connect to this one as much. But it's vampires, and it's very much like this Buffy myth where all vampires are bad except, you know, the select few. So it's very Buffy here. But yeah, I thought the story was okay with the vampires. I do think the plot needs to be a bit better for Robin Hood. A lot of times that's my complaint, is that I love the characters, but I want to like the villains a bit more. And here we just get to see Van Helsing team up. The things I do like here, of course, is our main characters, Robyn and why can't I think of her name right now? The witch. It starts with M. I can't even think of her name. Later down the line, I'll think about it. Like, oh, of course. Why didn't I say that? Anyways, I do like the characters here. I like their motivation, and but I do think the vampires could have been a little bit better. And I guess to introduce Van Helsing a little bit better for this issue. So overall, it was not a bad issue, but kind of a forgettable one for me. So I give it 3 stars. All right, moving on to number 14, which is Ultimate End issue 4. This is another story I want to like more, but I feel like it's not up to par to the other Ultimate events. One thing I like about Bendis's events is that it's very character driven and always has awesome character beats, and I just want to cry, you know? I'm like, oh no, it's the end, and I never get those tearful moments here, or those oh yeah, remember when moments, you know? And I feel like for an ending, that's what I want, and this is the end of the Ultimate Universe, and it's just kind of fighting, and that's it. It's a lot of action, and I just want more character stuff. But the good character stuff here I thought was Bombshell and the Punisher moment. There's a good fight there, but the other fights, because they're literally 2 universes fighting each other, are a bit more cluttered, and you don't really get to see those character moments as much. And I feel like the explanation of them fighting could have been explained a bit better. Like, it was just like 1 or 2 pages of dialogue. It's like, oh, this is why they're fighting and why Dr. Doom's okay with it. I kind of wish they showed it to us a bit more of like why they're fighting. So I thought that could have been a bit better. So overall, it's an okay issue. I just kind of expect more with Ultimate End. I want more with this series, and I'm just not getting it yet. So Ultimate End issue 4 gets 3 stars, and that's number 14. Alright, we are moving on to number 13. Number 13 is The The Flash, Season 0. I will say that I've been more impressed with the Arrow Season 2.5, a bit more in The Flash. I think they're giving us more stories to kind of build the characters. Here is just a lot of one-shot stories, but I feel like this one-shot is a bit more important than the other ones we've been reading for Flash, because we get to learn a bit more about Captain Cold and Heatwave and why they teamed up. But I will say the reason why they teamed up could have been explained better. Even though I thought the concept of the book was good, I thought the actual story was kind of dull. It's just like, here, they're teaming up because, you know, ice and fire, why not? And also just showing their personalities of why they're teaming up. But, like, I thought they could have done that a bit better. And honestly, this is a Flash comic. I wanted more Flash. But yeah, so this is an okay issue. The artwork is still, you know, little, something you have to get used to. I personally like it. It's this blocky art that I think it fits the book, but I could tell why other people might not like it, especially if people are just reading, you know, or just reading this book because they like the show. It doesn't really look like the actors that much. It's a bit more on the blockier side, but if you read, like, early 2000 books, you know, a lot of those books have this style of artwork, so I'm used to it, but I can understand why, readers of this that just read or just watch the show wouldn't like it as much. But yeah, it was an okay issue, like I said. I think it has a good concept, and I'm excited to read the next issue, but it could have been executed a bit better. So, Flash Season 0, Issue 11 gets 3 stars. And what number are we up to now? We are up to, let's see, we are up to number 12, which is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Issue 5. This is the ending for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and I thought it was pretty good. You know, if you've ridden the ride before, either Disneyland or Disney World, it's about this railroad, or this train running because, hey, the tracks are being broken. That's what's the point of it. Explosives are going off. That's the point of the ride. And they newly revamped the ride where the story makes a bit more sense. So, especially if you ride the ride now and it hasn't been a couple of years, you'll understand the story. And here, I think they executed it really well here. First of all, the story is really interesting. I like the idea of the father just kind of being this money-hungry guy, but then you learn that he's not that money hungry. He was so focused on his business, but then he realizes what's important, but the town might not realize that. So you see the evil people that want money, and the people kind of care about society and, you know, the place they live, their community. So it was a really cool father-daughter story here. And I like the bandit story that she's gone throughout the, I guess, the past 2 issues. And, you know, the other supporting characters like the bandits and where their stories go, too. So I thought it was a really good ending. And most of the issues actually ride, where they're running, you know, they're trying to run out of the cave before it explodes. So, I liked it. I thought it was a pretty good issue. And overall, I recommend this miniseries. I had a blast with it. I'm not saying it's the best miniseries in the world, but I think it's a fun one and one of the better Disney ones, in my opinion. So, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Issue 5, gets 3.5 stars for me. Moving on to number 11, I think we're up to. We are up to number 11, and that is Morning Glories, Issue 47. Now, this is a series I was a bit surprised that this was so low, but for some reason I thought the artwork was a little off, even though I love Joe Eisma's art. There's times where Casey looked a bit different. I don't know, maybe because it's been a little while since the last issue, but I thought, like, there were scenes where Casey, I don't know why, but looked different. Let me try to get a page. Like here, I can't put my hand on or finger on what exactly looked different about her, but maybe it was like her face, I don't know. But the story was pretty good. It's a bit of, I don't want to say a filler issue because, you know, Morning Glories never has filler issues, but less happened here. But an interesting aspect I liked is that we're seeing Casey build another friendship with the woman that was from the future. I can't think of her name. Starts with an A, I think. Let me see if I can find it. No, it was Vanessa. It does not start with an A at all. But Vanessa, her character we're seeing that could time travel, kind of, or talk to people from the future. So we're seeing that she's building her relationship with Casey, and they're going to become really good friends. And then also it's in the mix of the election, and who's going to win, who's not going to win, and it's trying to get votes. But yeah, I thought it was an okay issue. I could have used more Casey here, I think. I kind of, you know, she is our main character, but she's definitely not in every issue. And I kind of miss having an issue about her. It's been a while. But yeah, and also the Hunter story, Could have been a little bit better, but it's all pieces to the puzzle. We're finding out a bit more about that tunnel, that cylinder thing. So this was an okay issue. I think it progresses enough, but it could have had a little bit more. So Morning Glories of issue 47 gets 3.5 stars. And that's number 11. So we're moving on to number 10. Alright, number 10 is Jupiter's Circle, issue 5. Another series that is usually like in my top 5, but it's not this week. So yeah, Jupiter's Circle I thought was a little lackluster this week, because we're still going into the love interest thing. We see one person cheat on the other person's girlfriend, and that's what it's about. It's about cheating on each other, I guess. And that's what's going on here. Artwork's still really good, and yeah, we're still learning a lot about these characters, that they're not perfect, that they are superheroes, but totally not perfect, and they don't have the best relationship with each other as a team. And I think that's really the aspect of this issue, but I kind of wish we got the girl's point of view a bit more, because we've already gotten 2 stories of the guy's point of view cheating, and I kind of want to see the girl have a little bit more power in this series. I know it's the 50s, so you're not going to see that as much, but that's something I want to see, and I know there's a girl superhero here, and we haven't really got to see her story, so I guess that's the disappointing thing, is that, the girls are so passive in this series. Even though they have interesting stories, they're definitely motivated for the man story a bit more. I don't know if they're doing that on purpose because it's the 1950s, but I hope we get to see some more of the girl story here in this series too. But yeah, I thought this was a bit more repetitive to the other cheating story we've already got in Jupiter's Circle. So I gave this one 3.5 stars. And we're up to number 9 now. Yes, we're up to number 9, which is Injustice: Gods Among Us, issue 7. I feel like this series is a bit on a lull, because in the middle of the series it's always in a lull, where it's like, hey, we have a lot of issues left, but, we're taking our time to tell it. This is more of a fighting issue. It's Shazam fighting Hercules, and Batman trying to decide, do we help the gods, do we help our old friends, what do we do here, do we take advantage of the gods fighting Wonder Woman and the rest of the team? So it's definitely Batman a lot on the sidelines. So yeah, that's why I thought it was an okay issue. It's kind of the same things we've been getting. There's some character moments like Kate wanting to kill Wonder Woman because she killed Huntress. So those are some good character moments. Even some of the Shazam moments were good. And I've seen better with this series, and again, I thought this was a bit more on a lull. There's definitely been more powerful issues, and I hope that we get out of this gods portion and that we get more into like, hey, Batman and Superman are fighting each other again, because it's just kind of being a little bit repetitive at this point. So we will see what happens in the next issue, but I thought this was a bit more forgettable. So Justice Gods Among Us issue 7 gets 3.5 stars. What number are we up to now? We are up to number 8, which is Giant Size Little Marvels issue 3, which is a really cute issue. I do think this was a bit on the weaker side. I feel like I've been saying that for every issue now. But this was a bit weaker than the first 2. I thought the first 2 were a bit funnier, and issue 1 was hilarious. But this is more of, hey, twins, go on the X-Men side because we have a danger room. And then the Avengers didn't have as much of a story, and they were like, well, don't go here because we could take you to Asgard. So yeah, I thought this was a little less funny, but still as cute as hell. It's still a good story. And I love the ending of this issue because now the Guardians are being a part of this, saying, hey, twins, join us. I have no idea what's so important about these twins, but they want them on their group. So I really liked the ending, and I think that's why it became a little higher for me, because I really liked the Guardians ending, but it's still very cute. But I do think the first 2 issues were a little bit funnier than this issue. So I'm giving Giant Size Little Marvels issue 3 3.5 stars. So we are moving on to number 7, which is Spider Island issue 2. So this is Spider-Girl did not make it onto the top 5. And I will say mostly because of Spider Island. I do think the Spider Island story should switch with Spider-Girl, and I've been saying this because I think the Spider Island story has less to say, and they didn't have a lot to say here. Just like, oh, Avengers, you have some quirky outfits, and you're quirkiness because of Spider Island. Let's, you know, try to defeat the Queen. Spider-Girl is dealing with psychological, hey, my father died. So even though I'm a Spider-Girl fan, maybe that's why I'm saying it, I do think Spider-Girl has a lot more story to tell than the Spider Island story. So I do feel like they would switch, or should switch, and the story would be a bit better. And more condensed. I feel like that would have been the better thing, because also Spider-Girl, I feel like, should have more story to, you know, more pages in an issue. So yeah, I thought the Spider Island issue was a bit on the corny side. I do think this issue is a bit better, though. It's longer, so that's why I think it is a lower grade this time. But I do think this one was less sloppy. I remember the first one was a bit more sloppy. Story-wise, and it was a good ending where we get to see Venom find the actual Spider-Man, and he finds out it's Peter Parker. So I thought it was a good ending, and you know, there are some small moments I liked here, like, you know, Carol being a vampire. Even though I think it's weird and corny, I like some scenes where she is a vampire. She's like, oh, I need your guy's blood, and then Spider-Woman's like, oh, we have some, here you go, and she's like sipping on the blood. So I thought that was cool. But going to the May story, I love it. I like how you know, how much Tom DeFalco could fit into a very few amount of pages, because we do find out why the Avengers are attacking May. It's one of the villains that could attack their mind, and now May is so angry that by the end she sees J2 and thinks it's Deimos, so she might kill J2. So that will be a very interesting twist. Do they have enough pages to tell this story? I don't know, but yeah, I like the idea of going into May's head and, you know, her just feeling down, and now her friends are attacking her, and the villain's really targeting her at this point. So a lot of interesting things, point of views, I will say, because it's the point of view of obviously not knowing that this woman is controlling them. And I think May actually finds out that the woman is controlling her, but she just doesn't notice, because when she sees Deimos, oh, I forgot that. This is Deimos. I need to kill him. So it'll be interesting to see where the next issue goes. And of course, Ron Frenz has some beautiful artwork here too, which I love. So great story for Spider-Girl. But why it's not higher is because I do think the Spider Island story dragged this issue a bit more down. So I gave Spider Island overall 3.5 stars, even though I thought the May story was very well done, as always. But yeah, let's move on to number 6, which is We Stand on Guard, issue 2. I've been really impressed with this book. I really like the story and how unique this is. Brian K. Vaughan is great at creating worlds, you know, these crazy worlds, you know, Canada versus America, and how that looks. Now, our main character, we don't really know much about her, and that's why our group of Canadians who are going against, our rebels, who's going against, America doesn't really trust her, because you know, they don't know much about her, but she's trying to prove herself. Hey, I'm a Canadian. I want to destroy America. That's pretty much where the story is going. But we learn, like, little moments of her here. There's flashbacks where we see that she's hiding with her brother, and, you know, America taking away people that helped her, you know, survive. It's all been about survival, but then there's these little mysteries of, like, why doesn't she have scars? Why doesn't she look like she's, you know, been in the woods for so many years? So I'm really interested to learn more about her. I do think this is a bit slower than the first one, so that's why I guess it didn't make my top 5 this week, but it's still a really good book, and I love the artwork. I think it fits so well, and I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm falling in love with the series really quickly. So We Can Stand on Guard, issue 2 was really solid. I gave it 4 stars. So moving on to number 5, which I'm really glad to see this on top 5, and I think it's gotten a lot better in the past, like, 2 issues, and that is Outcast, issue 11 by Robert Kirkman. I really like this issue. I think the series is at its best when the supporting characters are involved. Especially his wife, his daughter, and his sister, and the priest, even though the priest wasn't in this issue as much. I really like that we have this story to tell where we don't really know what happened between his wife and our main character. We don't really know. But we see that the daughter does know. That he says, oh, but mommy, you know, daddy helped us when you were bad. So now the sister overhears that, and she's like, what do you mean? I thought it was you that, you know, did these things. And, you know, obviously he wants to protect his wife. And he's also scared for anyone to go near him, because he thinks he's the catalyst for these demons going into people. And it seems like that's true, because in the end of the issue, the sister becomes this demon-possessed person. So a lot of interesting twists, and the one thing I'm fearful of, though, is because, I mean, the story literally is about if I go near anyone I love, they'll become demons. I'm fearful that's going to push the supporting characters away, and I think that's the most interesting part of this. But also we get a little tip of, like, maybe his daughter is the key for this not to happen, because he says when I hug her, there's something there. So not just that, hey, this is my daughter, it's like, hey, she might be the cure for all this. So I think there's a lot of interesting story with a lot of great beats, especially with the artwork. The artwork's beautiful. Really enjoyed this issue, and I think the series has definitely gotten a lot better and a lot quicker than it was just a couple issues back. So that is my number 5, and that got 4 stars. Alright, moving on to number 4, which is American Vampire, the Second Cycle, issue 9. I'm really glad to see this on top 5 because it hasn't been in my top 5 for a while. Because I do think this arc has been a bit on a slower side, but it's definitely quickened up and the pacing's great here. Because we get to see Skinner is in space. He is going a little delusional at the same time, and we don't know if they're going to survive. But one of my favorite parts is Pearl and Felicia teaming up, and we see that her son is manipulated because he is a monster, this vampire type monster. We've seen arcs before, and he dies and sacrifices himself for his mother. And now we're gonna see if Pearl and Felicia can escape this place, but it doesn't seem like they can because there's even more vampires they're gonna have to fight. But yeah, this is a lot of fun, and if you've been reading American Vampire for a really long time, I haven't. I've binge read all of it, but if you've been reading every issue of American Vampire, you'll understand why this issue is important. Because, you know, one of the most interesting things about this series is obviously Pearl. I think she's the most interesting character because she is the main character, even though there's some awesome supporting characters. But what's interesting is Felicia, too, because there's always that side story with Felicia. Now we're finally seeing them together, which we see every once in a while, but Felicia's always been against vampires, even though she's half vampire because of her father. And finally, you get to see this friendship, this bond between Pearl and Felicia that you have never seen. They've always been maybe co-workers, maybe. But now you're seeing this bond of like, hey, I kind of want to survive, and, you know, Pearl actually hugged Felicia when Felicia's son died. There are some really amazing beats here, and that's why it did make top 5, because of those small beats. And really great artwork, too, by Albuquerque. Love his artwork. The part I will say that's a bit slower is actually Skinner's story. Even though he's in space and it's amazing to see that, I was less interested in Skinner's story and more interested in Felicia and Pearl's story. But still very excited to see where this goes, and yeah, this has been a slower arc, but it's definitely picking up now. So American Vampire Second Cycle gets 4 stars for me, and that's number 4. Alright, so we're moving on to number 3, which is... Number 3 is Broken World, issue 3. This is a series I've been loving. It's one of my favorite indie series, I think, of this year. Issue 1 and 2 were my pick of the week. Now, issue 3 obviously didn't make pick of the week, but still, this is a very solid issue with, again, very stylish, awesome artwork, and good story. It progresses the story well. I will say there's less psychological moments here than issue 1 and 2, but some great story progression, where we get to see our main character to go see her family. She has to go to the children cult people to find their master and kill him. And how is that possible? And then also she's trying to save her students. There's people from her past from issue 1 that show up again and are surprised to see her, like the person who forged her documents and the person that allowed her not to go into the plane or into the spaceship with her family. So those are some interesting interactions. But you see how far she'll go to try to meet up with her family again, which I think is really interesting. So really good issue. Like I said, it progresses the story very well, and I can't wait to see where the next issue goes. So that's number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is Miss Marvel, issue 17. This is just, if you've been reading Miss Marvel for as long as I have, if you've been reading Miss Marvel since issue 1, you'll love this issue, because it's everything you want. It's Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel teaming up. The best geek team-up there is at this point. Love that team-up, because this team-up we've been waiting for, of course. Like, of course it's gonna happen, but when? And of course it's when the world is ending and they don't have a lot of time to talk. They're giving compliments to each other. It's fun. And then the other story, of course, the world ending, and them trying to... they sacrifice stuff, but they know they have to sacrifice things. They need Miss Marvel wants to save, kittens here. And Captain Marvel says, well, you can't save them all. And then Miss Marvel's like, I'm going to come back and save you. So I'm hoping by the end of this arc she saves those kittens. But the end of this issue is also great, too, because we get to see her brother is probably going to become inhuman, and she was too late. And that's another story that's been going on for a couple issues now that is finally, being developed here. So that's what I love about this issue. Is a lot of things we've been waiting for that are finally kind of exploding in this issue. It's just a lot of fun. If you want a fun issue of Secret Wars that I think they're far in between, because, yeah, the world's ending, there's a lot of doom and gloom. Pun intended with doom. But yeah, this was a good issue. I had a lot of fun with it, and if you've been enjoying Miss Marvel, it's everything you love about the book and more with this issue. So Miss Marvel issue 17 gets 4.5 stars, and that's number 2. So moving on to number 1, what was pick of the week? It was The Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows. Damn, I've been loving this book. As you guys know, I'm a huge Mary Jane and Peter Parker fan. I love them together. And I think Dan Slott writes them perfectly here. I wish that he could do that in the regular Spider-Man book. Because here it shows how much Peter will go to, how far he will go to save his family. And, May is also feeling... Annie is also feeling this responsibility to try to do the right thing, and they're being hunted. Because Spider-Man is now revealed that he's alive, the Sinister Six, who are the good guys, are hunting Spider-Man to try to figure out who he is. And they find out that Mary Jane and Annie are related to him. So they kidnap them, and Spider-Man's in the mix of fighting the Sinister Six. So what does he do? Does Annie go into action? From the cover, it seems like she will. And will her parents allow her to do that? You understand why Mary Jane would be like, hey, it's my responsibility to protect you, not to do anything. So some really interesting dialogue there, too, with, Annie and Mary Jane. I wish I could actually get the exact quote here. But also it's fun just to see the family fighting together, teaming up together. So many great moments. So yeah, I love this issue, and it made me really excited to read the next one. If you enjoyed the family aspect, you enjoy Mary Jane, Peter, and Annie, read this. It's really great. Even if you enjoy May, I think you should read it. Even though it's not May, it's very much the attitudes of May. I feel like this would be a May at this age, and if she knew that her father was Spider-Man. So really good issue, 4.5 stars. I could talk about it all day, but I won't. So that's my pick of the week. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below what was your worst pick of the week, your pick of the week, and everything in between. Of course, I have a Comic You Know episode next week. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there's links for my comic book, Like Father Like Daughter. Don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later. Bye.